It's never too early to talk about the class of 2026. Coach Davis has made two recent offers. Who are they? Let's find out.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. It's the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making this your first listen or watch, and I want to give a special shout out to all the everydayers, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family, and of course, our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome in. Let's get right after it. This episode's brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on the show today, Coach Davis and the staff have recently extended two more offers in the class of 2026. That's this year's high school juniors. I'm going to introduce you to those guys. I want to talk about the death lineup. This is a lineup that I want to see for Carolina. Have we seen it yet? I went through and I looked at all the lineup combinations this year, so I'm ready. I got the research done. We'll get after it. But first, it's Tuesday. That means it's Trivia Tuesday time. Let's go. Stanford and Cal, two of the newest three members of the ACC. They're coming to the Dean Dome for the first time as members of the ACC this week, Wednesday for Cal, Saturday for Stanford. My question to you, friends, is this. What is Carolina's combined all-time record against these two schools? Answer for that coming up at the end of the show. In the past several weeks, Coach Davis has made his 7th and 8th offers in the class of 2026. We're going to start with the most recent and go backwards. And before I do, though, I want to remind you of the other 6 offers the staff has made. The guy that I am most excited about in this class and I would love to have is Mika Burinan. He's a power forward. He's at Campus Prep down in Arizona. This dude just does so much, so well. I want him so hard. Tyron Stokes is the guy at the top of this 26 class. Small forward. He's at Notre Dame out in California. Cole Clore, who is a local guy, is from Orange High School in North Carolina. He's a small forward. One of those that it's like, man, really, really need to do everything you can to land that young man. Cam Holmes, small forward. He's at Millennium in Arizona. You got Caleb Holt, who's a shooting guard from Grayson High School in Loganville, Georgia. That's my home state. Let's go. And then Jordan Smith, a shooting guard from Paul VI the Catholic in Virginia. So there's the 6 previous offers. And we're going to get to these 2 most recent ones. We'll start with an offer that was announced on January 5th, so about 10 days ago, and that's Anthony Thompson, a small forward. He's a 5-star, class of 2026, from Lebanon, Ohio. Depends on what state you're in, how you pronounce that word, Lebanon High School, but this year transferred to a school in Hudson, Ohio called Western Reserve Academy. It's also, by the way, where Nico Bundalo plays, if you remember that name that Carolina recruited. There you go. Thompson plays on the Adidas circuit, plays for Indiana Elite, and his ranking as of right now at the 4 major recruiting sites at 247. He's 9th in this class, a little bit lower at the others. ESPN, he's 29th. On 315th and Rivals 14th. So somewhere 9 to 29, but a very high level small forward. Has a bunch of other offers. I'll just rattle off some of them. I got the whole list written out because it's crazy, as you would imagine, for a 5-star small forward that's 6'7". But both Alabama schools in the SEC, Auburn and Alabama, Clemson, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisville, Marquette, Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Purdue, Stanford, Texas, on and on and on. There's many, many more. But it's, a lot of Big Ten schools he's up from that way, but also a lot of the blue bloods as well. It's a situation he's going to have his choice of school as you would expect. His quote after receiving the offer, this comes through Patrick O'Brien of Phenom Hoops, says, or Thompson said through O'Brien, "I'm very appreciative for the offer. The staff, the Carolina staff, watched me in July, the 3 SSB finale games. That's the Adidas circuit finale. and the USA Championship games in Rock Hill. Also, they came to watch me play at Western Reserve. Again, that's his high school that he transferred to for his junior year here. O'Brien himself says of Thompson, here's his kind of take on him right now. First, quote, I should say, first, his ability to stretch the court and knock down shots with a smooth, confident release is impressive. Yes, it is. I'll agree. He can pick and pop out, knock down shots from the corner with confidence, score off the bounce with his jumper. I'd like to see him do it more, by the way, and has length to rise over defenders with ease comfortably is impressive. He is incredibly efficient from the floor and instantly creates a matchup problem, and you have to love how he plays under control and at his tempo. That's so well put and so true if you've watched any of his highlights or any of his game footage. His ability to knock down shots is impressive and certainly should have the attention of many scouts, but that isn't fully his game as he understands how to operate in what is given to him. He has handles to create, can body up smaller defenders, scores well over opponents in the paint with his 7'2" wingspan, and his ability to be so fluid in how he attacks is quite impressive. O'Brien, by the way, also reports that Thompson is planning the keyword there, to visit Carolina in the spring semester. Again, this is his junior year, so you'd love to get him in the spring on an official visit. Quite a bit to unpack here. Thompson is one of those young men that had one of those massive growth spurts. Basically, he talks about, Thompson does, growing 5 inches from his freshman to his sophomore year. That said, when you read this, like he's 6'7", 7'2" wingspan, which that is very impressive to me. Think about that on the wing. A 6'7" guy with a 7'2" wingspan at the 3 out on the wing. Give me that all day long. But he really does. Watch him play. It's almost like if you sped up a YouTube video to like 1.5 speed, it would kind of feel like the flow of what many guys play with. But when you watch it in normal speed, it's just like he's out for a stroll in the park, right? Like he just loves playing and it's easy going. It is smooth and comfortable, as O'Brien said of him. I love, I'm a southpaw, so I love if you watch Thompson play, he's a lefty, has a nice lefty stroke. That is always a thing that I'm interested in because it's just a different thing for the defenders to have to learn to reckon with. But as you watch him finish at the rim or other stuff, a lot of guys, it's like, do you have the other handedness yet? Have you figured that out? And Thompson has the ability to finish well and smoothly with his right hand at the rim. That's encouraging to me. He is a wing that can really fill it up. And I don't know if it's because of that big growth spurt or just he's still growing. But to look at him, he does look a bit gangly, which, when he's got a 7'2" wingspan. But it's one of those things you often think of some of those bigger guys, like a John Henson or something, that just Bryce Johnson, that just takes a while to fill into their skin and feel like they look comfortable in who they are. And so I mean that he's gangly in a good way. There's still the opportunity to continue to grow into that body of his and continue to refine that. And that's encouraging. His stroke is smooth. From what I've seen, he finishes high, going back to what O'Brien said of him. Smooth, confident release is impressive. Pick and pop, shoots from the corner with confidence, can score off the bounce, etc., etc. What's interesting to me, though, one thing I will say is I would like to see Thompson get into his shooting motion more quickly. Most of the time, him playing at his speed, I love. He's not going to be sped up. He's comfortable with what he's doing. But there is this elongated, like he takes the ball down and back up before he gets up with it. Go watch. You'll see what I'm talking about. I would like to see him shot ready, boom, up. And that's going to come, right? Again, he's still just a junior in high school. So I'm nitpicking here because there's so much that he does so well. But I do want to provide critique so that you can see things like where could he grow? That's an area for me. More shot readiness and a quicker release on that shot. Again, though, it looks really nice. It's smooth. It seems repeatable from what I've seen and from the mechanics of what I've seen. So I'm encouraged by that. 6'7" size as a 3. I mean, he could play the 4, from a height standpoint in modern basketball. But if you could have him as a 3, that's going to give you positional height and versatility often. And we'll have the opportunity, as O'Brien had talked about in his unpacking of Thompson's game, kind of to do some of what Harrison Ingram did for Carolina last year, to take smaller guys down in the post and kind of have his way with that. And so would be encouraged by that. And also, like, as I watch him, he's got some basketball awareness to him, some instincts. I'll give you an example. I saw a wild play in the middle of one of his highlight packages. I can't remember which one. I try to watch a whole bunch of not just highlights, but also game film on these young men before we talk about them. But there was this kind of really crazy play in the middle of one of these that would have been really easy to miss. It's a play where there's a smaller guard that back cuts behind Thompson. Thompson's watching the ball. He doesn't seem to cut through the lane. Had some help defense that I don't know. This poor young man, he's going to catch a stray here. I don't know what he's doing. His man was out on the wing, so he like bypasses the ball carrier who's going to the rim unobstructed to try to get out to his guy while Thompson's trying to recover. So Thompson is trying to recover from behind. There's literally nobody else in the lane. So the smaller guard that's back cutting has a free and open layup. Thompson turns around and remember he's left-handed, tries with his right hand to get after this thing, but the guard pump fakes him and he goes by, doesn't go flying by, but doesn't get the block because of the pump fake. And so then the kid starts going up and Thompson kind of has to turn around backwards and swats the shot with his left hand, almost like from behind at this weird, I don't know how his body did it, but it's like that kind of thing when there's a non-scripted play and things break down. How do you react? What are you able to do? Will he be able to do that against D1 competition? I don't know. But the instincts to say, I missed with my right hand as I'm spinning around, let me get it with my left. I mean, it was just, I was very impressed. So there you go. Really interested to see more of Anthony Thompson. Excited to watch what he's got going on this year at Western Reserve Academy. Make sure you check out a game, right? Like see all of that. It's good to hear that the staff not only watched him this summer, but has been there to school to see what's going on. So we will keep up with that with Mr. Thompson. Now, if Thompson is going to get his shots off, he can do some of that by himself, but a point guard would sure be helpful. Need someone to get him the ball. How about Deron Rippey Jr.? That's who we'll talk about next. But right after I tell you about Game Time, attending the new 12-team college football playoff, man, is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. Hard to believe that after all of this, finally, the national championship game is now less than a week away. Crazy. Cannot wait to see that game. Ohio State, Notre Dame, both playing really well. And whether it's that or you want to go to a Carolina game or the NCAA tournament, whatever it is, Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks, making getting tickets for your favorite events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. Recently, I used Game Time Picks, by the way, to find tickets for my family to go see Dude Perfect this summer. We're going to visit our very good friends down in Alabama, and we're all going to go together to see Dude Perfect because our kids are all in on it. And so Game Time was the perfect place to go find tickets. Also, there's really cheap tickets on Game Time right now for Carolina hosting Cal tomorrow night. You can get in the door for as little as $10. Go check it all out at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download their app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Terms do apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. We switch now from talking about Anthony Thompson to Deron Rippey Jr., nickname Ron. I'm all in on that, and that's what we're going to call him today because I love it. I know, usually it's like, hey, my friends call me Ron. I don't care. Today we're going with Ron because I just absolutely love it. Ron's a point guard, 5-star class of 26, again, a current junior, 6'2", 175, so growing a little bit there. He's originally from Brooklyn, New York, another New York guard. Let's make that happen. But now plays at Blair Academy in New Jersey. AAU, he plays on New Heights Lightning. That's part of the EYBL. So Thompson's on the Adidas circuit, and Rippey is on the EYBL, the Nike circuit. And by the way, New Heights Lightning, that's the same team as Elliot Cadeau played for in AAU. This weekend, by the way, literally saw this just a little bit before I was set to record, was just named the MVP of the Shooting Stars Showcase, 21 points, 5 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a partridge in a pear tree, right? I love that descending stat line there. Really cool. His offer was made public. I think his dad actually was the one to tweet it out. Deron Rippey Sr. on New Year's Eve. Pretty cool Happy New Year, right? Like here's a scholarship offer from the University of North Carolina. Really cool stuff. Rankings at the 4 sites. He's just right around in the low 20s, basically. 247, he's 19 on 320, Rivals 22, and at ESPN a little bit lower at 28. Same thing as Thompson, not, I guess, quite as extensive an offer sheet, but Kansas, Stanford, SMU, Purdue, West Virginia, Providence, Maryland, Louisville, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Nova, Illinois, Syracuse, Texas A&M, on and on and on. St. John's, obviously, up that way. A lot of really, really, really great schools. But here's what sticks out to me. You know all those interviews when a guy's sitting down with Theo Pinson or somebody, and it's like he's been in the NBA for 10 years. He's like, you know what was my dream school? North Carolina. Or if I had gone to college, I was going to go to North Carolina. Or I really wanted to go to North Carolina, but it just didn't work. Or whatever it is. How often do we hear that refrain? But it's different to me when it's on the front end like this. I read an interview, like not only do I like to try to watch a ton of tape, I like to try to read their interviews and just get a little bit of a beat on who these young men are. So I was reading an interview. This is back from the summer of 2023. So not this most recent summer, but the summer before, with Prospective Insight. And one of the questions was, have you had a dream school growing up? Growing up, I wanted to go to UNC, period. There you go. Now, the way that's phrased, it's not like I wanted to go to UNC, so that's definitively where I'm going, right? Like, how many young men has that been true for? Or the flip, right? Like we've had others that was like, growing up, Duke was my dream school, but I went to X. Or, NC State was my dream school, and I went whatever. You know what I mean? He also said UConn is up there, Duke, Syracuse, and I'd say maybe Michigan. He talks in other interviews a lot about like how much academics mean to him and how critical that will be in making these decisions. So it's encouraging that UNC was his dream school, but it doesn't get him in the door. It's helpful, but it doesn't seal the deal. So let's go make it happen, right? His dad, this is, he just comes from a long line of athletes. His dad played at ECU, East Carolina University. In terms of his game, well, this comes from his own mouth. Quote, I'm a very tough defender. On defense, I'm aggressive. I like to pressure the ball. Offensively, I can make open threes. I can get my teammates open, and I'm pretty athletic for my height. Again, 6'1", 6'2". He's kind of grown into that. Something that's encouraging to me, I'm always like, in addition to hearing from them who they think they are as a player, and I'm also always interested in, do you have a good understanding of who you are as a player? It's one thing for you to say it. It's another thing for it to be true. And I think a lot of what he said from what I've seen and watched is true. But I'm also curious who they see in themselves. And for Ron, he says that Keontae George is somebody he's watched a ton, tries to model his game after. He's also heard people compare him to John Morant or De'Aaron Fox. I've heard him say those guys. And I watched an interview where one of the guys interviewing him talked about seeing some Spida in him, some Dylan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell, Dylan Mitchell still in college right now. So that's really interesting stuff there. What I love is, yes, 6'1", 6'2", whatever. This homie's got hops, man. And I love it when a guard just takes you by surprise like that. And it's like, oh, yeah, come on. Now, I'm curious to see, does he have more growth in himself? Because that is an area of concern for me, is size. And maybe, I don't know, but I'm like triggered. I'm skittish on guards that are 6'1", 6'2", because of what's going on right now, because of having the smaller backcourt. Because could you imagine Carolina this year with the personnel that they have? But let's imagine a world where RJ Davis is 6'3", Elliot is 6'4", and Ian is still 6'5", and Seth is 6'5". Things are very different if that's, and honestly, yeah, they're very different because RJ Davis is in the NBA right now. So I guess that's a different conversation as well. But maybe I'm just skittish because of what's going on right now. But I would really love a bigger guard. Thankfully, Isaiah Dennis, who's coming in, is 6'5". Derek Dixon, who's coming in, is 6'3". So both of the 2025 guards that are coming in have size, and that's encouraging. But as I watch Rippy play, he seems like he plays bigger than that 6'2" that he is. In terms of what he sees in himself that he needs to work on, he speaks of his biggest area of growth being his jump shot, and recognizing that that's an area of continued growth. In terms of his biggest learning, I was really appreciative of this. I read in one of his interviews, he just talked about how much he needs to value the basketball, value every possession, taking great care of the basketball, and mentioned that in his time with USA Basketball is some things he had learned from some of that. So that's good. Here's another very unique statement to me that he made. This one was in an interview with On3. He said this, quote, "I am the most comfortable playing with another guard who is like me. So we can have two lead guards, combos on the floor who can set up the offense and score," end quote. That's unique because a lot of these guys are like, yeah, I want to play with my buddies, but like if I'm a point guard or a combo guard, maybe a small forward and a power forward who I can interact with really well. A lot of these similar guards, it's like, hey, let me get mine. So I love this mentality and this mindset from him, specifically because how often has Hubert Davis said, I want two guards on the floor. I want that to be the case for me. And so knowing that that's something that Rippy is not only okay with, but like actively wants to happen, that to me, if I'm Hubert Davis, I hear that, and that is a talking point for me. I love this in you, young man, and we will pair you with somebody like you because we want two guards on the floor as well. Let's make that happen, right? Like that is an easy recruiting pitch for Coach Davis. So hopefully he has caught that statement from Rippy. So there you go. Thompson, Rippy, two of the most recent offers for Carolina, the class of 2026, now up to 8 offers in totality. Obviously, as we have talked about, we're still waiting on the Caleb Wilson news. Seems like it's down to Carolina and Kentucky, and that we'll get some information on it this month. So we'll see. Now, here's the other thing. Moving away from recruiting is this. I really want to see Carolina's death lineup. I've been clamoring for it for weeks now. My question is, have we already seen it this year? I went back finally. I'd been intending to do the research. I went back and did it on Monday, and I'll share it with you and what I'd love to see coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about our brand new sponsor, Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, man, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. And no, we're not going to chase waterfalls. Tender loving care. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Are you that way? I definitely am. Well, Wayfair can help you do that. So whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or you just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. Currently, like I'm in this space where I hate the end of the Christmas season because I love the decorations. It's so great. And then you take it all down. And I don't know if you feel this way, but it's like, man, my house feels barren now. I need something new to fill up the space. Well, that's what Wayfair helps make it easy to do, to tackle all your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space. My favorite part, they have free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. That's so helpful. Wayfair's site is really easy to navigate, and you can find everything you need in no time. So go ahead, give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We talked recently on the show about Carolina. Feels like they haven't yet fully found their identity. We're over the halfway point of the season now, and so that's a little bit of a struggle for me. But that's what a college basketball season, I mean, any sports season is continued growth toward the ultimate pinnacle. You want to be playing your very best when it's winning time, right? Like, and it's not that you can lose a whole bunch of games early, because the winning the games late don't matter if you don't do anything early. But Carolina has put wins together. They're on a 3-game winning streak now, looking for their longest winning streak of the season, by the way, tomorrow when they host Cal. But I think there are still things to be tried, is what I'm saying. I don't think Carolina's personnel groupings are set. There's still more to be seen. I've even heard Coach Davis recently. What was that on? I think it might have been on last week's ACC coaches call that happens. I can't remember for sure. That's just me trying to remember back. But I remember in one recent conversation where Coach Davis was talking about some lineups and what to do when Seth comes back, and talked just briefly in passing about, yeah, man, we might even see Drake Powell at the 5 some. And my eyes lit up. It was like the Grinch, and his heart grew 3 sizes that day, because I have been clamoring for this. Like, I don't think it's a lineup you utilize for 10 minutes at a time, but it's like, just something that you throw in for 2 to 3 minutes. And that is what we're going to call the death lineup. And that lineup for me is Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, Ian Jackson, and Drake Powell. And before, everyone pulls out their hair, yes, I understand that this is an undersized lineup. But think about that lineup and all the athleticism, all the speed, all the quickness with which they could play. Because just like, yes, Carolina would have to defend on the other end, and they can with this athleticism and activity, the other team has to guard this. So good luck lumbering 5-man trying to stick with Drake Powell. Good luck, whoever your 4 is, trying to contain Ian Jackson. He's going to blow by you or step out, and you're not going to get a hand up, and he's going to knock down 3 after 3 in your eyeball. I want to see it happen. And Mark Campbell and I were talking about it on the postcast after NC State on Saturday. And one of the things he was saying is employ this lineup strategically, in the same way that you might, do a run and jump at an unconventional moment to surprise your opponent. Same is true here. I think Mark advocated for do it leading to the second free throw attempt. I would say do it like coming out of a timeout, but kind of keep your lineup back near the bench. And only once the opponent has already come out, then do you send this lineup out. And they've all of a sudden got to figure out what the crud to do. And it might even, by the way, force the other coach's hand to substitute as well to match. Because you have to say in these moments, we will not change what we're doing to match you. We're going to force you to match us, and we're rolling with this death lineup. And again, I think it's like a 3-minute spurt, something like that. But you got to try it. So what I wanted to do was go back and see, all right, Coach Davis has kind of mentioned this in passing, so he's at least thinking about it, right? Have there been any moments this season when Carolina has utilized this death lineup? So I went back and looked all 17 games, and the answer is no. There was, in the Elon game to start the season, there was a 6-second spurt from 52 seconds remaining to 46 seconds remaining, where Carolina played a version of this, but not the exact one I'm talking about. It was Elliot, RJ, Seth, Drake, and Cade Tyson. So Cade Tyson rather than the Ian Jackson in the lineup that we're advocating for. Obviously, this lineup would have to have Ian Jackson's potency to do it. And that was the very beginning of the season when Carolina was figuring everything out. So outside of those 6 seconds, Carolina has literally the entirety of the rest of the season had at least one of the Jae'lyns, Van Allen Lubin, Ty Claude, or James Brown in there. And I'm not saying it's a negative thing that those guys are in. I'm just saying that every lineup has had at least one of those guys, and Carolina has never employed this death lineup. Again, Elliot Cadeau, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, Ian Jackson, Drake Powell. That's what I want to see. Because again, to this point, you've been solid at moments. You've been good at moments. But what if this is the thing that could uniquely set apart North Carolina from every other team in the country? They've got the personnel to do it. It's the best 5 players on the team. Let's try it. It hasn't happened yet, but it could. It could. And again, if you try it and you're just getting killed, pull them out. Try it against Boston College. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be against Duke unless you're like, I'm confident in this and I know it's going to be a game changer. And if that's the case, if Coach Davis has been keeping this ace up his sleeve, for the regular season finale in Chapel Hill, kudos. But if that ends up spiting Carolina because they could have been really, really, really good or done really, really different things this season with that, that would upset me. But I just want to see it. Carolina hasn't utilized it yet. The death lineup, Give it to me. So anyway, finally went back and did the research because I knew I needed to go through all of the game play-by-play data and find it. Thankfully, a lot of the box scores at the end show you every lineup combination that played. And so you can kind of do some one-stop shopping there. But even still, it takes some time to research it. And I needed to find a couple minutes to go, or more than a couple minutes to go do it, and finally did, because I want to serve you, right? I want to say, I've gone and done the research. I've done the hard work, and here's what I found, right? So hopefully that's helpful for you. I'd love to. Do you want to see this lineup, or am I the only crazy one out here? Let me know. Jump in the YouTube comments. Let me know in Discord. Reach out if you're one of our insiders. Would love to talk to you more about it through text. All right, guys, it's been great to be together today. If you haven't subscribed to the show on YouTube, do that right now. Help us get to 10,000 subscribers in the first 3 years of the show. We are getting so close. We are down under 400 subscribers to go, but we got to get it done by the end of February, man. Help us get that. I just mentioned Locked on Tar Heels Insiders. If you're not an insider, we'd love to have you join that. The link for it is in the show notes, and you get a 2-week free trial, and then it's just $5 a month after that. It's a great way to help support the show and make sure we can keep doing it. If you're not part of the Locked on Tar Heels Discord, that's a free group to join. We'd love to have you there. That link is in the show notes as well. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back tomorrow to get you ready for that Cal game tomorrow night. Plus, obviously, we will go live after the game. Yes, yes, yes. All right, we'll talk again tomorrow. But until then, peace.